Hello and welcome. Thank God for Facebook. What makes me whole? What makes me whole? You know, I was reading in the book of Mark this week, and I was reading the familiar story of the woman with the issue of blood. And it's a story that probably most of us are familiar with. This woman, she had this plague in her blood that had really ruined her life. She had done everything in her power to try and find someone who could heal her or who could treat it, and she'd spent all the money that she had, and she was at her wit's end. And Jesus came to town, and Jesus is going through town, and there's this large crowd following him everywhere. And this woman thought, I just need to get to him, and everything will be okay. And she sort of had to press through the crowd to get to him, and eventually it was so crowded that she had to get on her hands and knees and crawl, and she reached out and grabbed the hem of his garment. And immediately she felt the change in her body, and this issue that had been with her for 12 years ceased to be there any longer. And Jesus, when it happened, he felt the virtue leave his body, and he looked around and he said, "Who just touched me?" And the disciples were with him, and they said, "Jesus, you are surrounded, and everyone is touching you at all times." And he said, "That's not what I'm talking about. I felt the virtue come out of me." And he looked and he saw this woman, and of course he knew what had happened. But she cried out. She was in fear. She was terrified, as if she had done something wrong. And she described to him what had happened and the change that had taken over her body. She said, "Jesus, you healed me." And he said to her, and I'm going to read you the verse. It's verse 34 in chapter 5. And he said unto her, "Daughter, thy faith had made thee whole." She said, "Jesus, you healed me." And he said, "Daughter, thy faith had made thee whole." She's saying, you did it, and of course he did. But he's saying, your faith made you whole. And what's he saying to her there? What's he saying to you and I? You know, a lot of times we think that we're victims of our circumstance. And of course, some of us are. You know, my life's been way too easy for me to sort of complain about my circumstance, but shame on me if I look at anyone who's had a harder life and tell them to, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. But there is a way through Jesus Christ that we can be made whole. And life's never going to be fair. We can wait around for our circumstances to all equal out and us to all be on a level playing field, and it will never happen. But Jesus is saying to her, this was available to everyone. I'm surrounded, and there is a world of people around me that could be made whole, but your faith made you whole because you knew that I could make the difference for you. Jesus is saying to me that I can wait around and look for these other things. I can spend 12 years, maybe more, trying to find something that's going to cure what ails me. But he's saying, your faith can make you whole. If you reach out, it's not just available to me. It's not just available to this woman, and it's not just available to you. It's available to all of us. And he's saying, you have a choice to make. Will you be made whole? I'm so thankful to serve a God that is no respecter of persons. He's the taste and see, Jesus. He's saying, give it a try. See if it works for you. I hope that in this time that we maybe are separated, but we're connected through technology, we're connected in these other ways, that people will feel the pull of a Jesus Christ who says, you're realizing that everything's not as you thought it would be. You realize that things are tenuous around you in ways that you hadn't respected before. And he's saying, your faith can make you whole. I hope that you'll reach out to him, that you'll learn to serve the God that has made me whole in ways, and he's still working on me. And I hope that you will find it in your heart to reach out to him and see what he can do for you. I love you all. I'm praying for you. God bless.